I want to play for you what Trey Gowdy was talking about there to remind you what Barack Obama said during his State of Disunion address, where he said he doesn't care. He's going to work around Congress if he has to. He's going to use executive orders. And I can't remember if this is where he said he has a pen and he has a telephone and he's going to go around Congress.
Over more than 3 decades, even before the Great Recession hit, massive shifts in technology and global competition had eliminated a lot of good middle-class jobs and weakened the economic foundations that families depend on. Today, after 4 years of economic growth, corporate profits and stock prices have rarely been higher, and those at the top have never done better. But average wages have barely budged. Inequality has deepened. Upward mobility has stalled.
You know, it's virtually impossible for me to listen to anything Barack Obama says, any piece of audio, and not interrupt and clarify or correct something that he's saying. All this stuff he's talking about in the economy that has stalled, all this stuff that's not working, all the jobs that aren't there, all the wages that aren't high enough. It's all the result of your economic policies, you bastard.
The cold hard fact is that even in the midst of recovery, too many Americans are working more than ever just to get by, let alone to get ahead.
Again, this is what happens when a liberal socialist Democrat who's very close to being a communist is president. It's his economic policies that have caused all of this. And he talks about these things that are occurring in the American economy as if they are things that are separate from his agenda, things that are happening without any influence from his administration. Holy crap.
And too many still aren't working at all. So our job is to reverse these trends.
Okay, you want to tell me what that clapping was about? He said too many people are not working at all, and somebody started clapping, applauding the fact that people aren't working, or applauding the fact that Obama noticed that that people are not working.
It won't happen right away, and we won't agree on everything. But what I offer tonight is a set of concrete, practical proposals to speed up growth, strengthen the middle class, and build new ladders of opportunity into the middle class.
Okay, look, this is the president at the beginning of his 6th year of being president. President Obama has been president for a full 5 years, and he's beginning his 6th year, and he's talking about something he's going to do about the economy and bringing back jobs. My question is, where the hell has he been? What the hell has he been doing?
Hey,
he's been talking about jobs the entire time he's been president. And so we have to assume that his administration has been doing some things that they believe. Hell has he been? What the hell has he been doing? He's been talking about jobs the entire time he's been president. And so we have to assume that his administration has been doing some things that they believe. I mean, give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, they don't deserve it, but for this argument, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They've been trying to help the economy, and instead, everything they've done has been harming it, has been hurting the economy, has been hurting workers. Everything. So you have to assume after 5 years that it's not a mistake, that it's being done on purpose. And that all these words coming out of Obama's mouth mean nothing, because there is no economic policy that Obama and the Democrats and the socialists in his White House can bring to the United States of America that would improve the economy. It's impossible. It's freaking impossible.
Some require congressional action, and I'm eager to work with all of you. But America does not stand still, and neither will I. So wherever and whenever I can take steps without legislation to expand opportunity for more American families, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, so here's what's happening here. Obama knows that the Republicans in Congress realize that he does not have anything to bring to the table that will help the economy, that would really help bring back jobs, increase productivity, nothing. That's not something that a socialist Democrat like Obama can do. And so the Republicans are going to be against whatever his stupid ideas are about the economy, whatever his agenda is, whatever the job program is. Republicans are going to be against it because they know after 5 years it's not working. Obama's ideas are bad ideas. So he knows. Obama knows that he's going to have to do this stuff on his own with executive orders and whatever else he can do because Republicans are not going to vote for his economic crap. It's bull crap. It's smoke and mirrors. Here's the clip of audio of Obama talking about his pen and his phone. And screw Congress. Who needs them?
What I'll be emphasizing in this meeting is the fact that we are not just going to be waiting for legislation in order to make sure that we're providing Americans the kind of help that they need. I've got a pen and I've got a phone. And I can use that pen to sign executive orders and take executive actions and administrative actions that move the ball forward in helping to make sure our kids are getting the best education possible, making sure that our businesses are getting the kind of support and help they need to grow and advance, to make sure that people are getting the skills that they need to get those jobs that our businesses are creating. And I've got a phone that allows me to convene Americans from every walk of life, nonprofits, businesses, the sector, universities, to try to bring more and more Americans together around what I think is a unifying theme, making sure that this is a country where if you work hard, you can make it. And so one of the things that I'm going to be talking to my cabinet about is how do we use all the tools available to us, not just legislation, in order to advance a mission that I think unifies all Americans. The belief that everybody's got to take responsibility, everybody's got to work hard. But if you do, that you can support a family and meet the kinds of obligations that you have to yourself and your family, but also to your communities.
All right, there he is. Barack Obama. Constitution? Nah. Don't need it. Congress? Nah, we can go around them. It doesn't matter. I've got a pen. I've got a phone. I'm charging ahead. One man. 3 colors. Black and white. And red all over. Red all over. Barack Obama is the communist. Limited engagement must end January 20th. Okay, and let me remind you of what it was that Sheila Jackson said about Trey Gowdy's bill that attempts to force Obama to obey the law.
The Enforcement Act is not constitutional.
Okay, well, let's take a look at it real quick here, because it doesn't take long. This is at the freebeacon.com. Article says the House of Representatives passed the Enforce the Law Act on Wednesday, a bill designed to push back against the numerous unilateral moves the Obama administration has used to circumvent the law. 5 Democrats joined the Republicans in passing the bill on a 233 to 181 vote. H.R. 4138, sponsored by Representative Trey Gowdy, would authorize the House or the Senate to sue the executive branch for not enforcing laws and provide an expedited process through federal district courts. This bill is one of several in the House that the GOP is pushing to combat the imperial presidency. Now, I say, even if the bill does not become law, because it's not going to become law, the Senate is not going to approve this. The Senate is run by Democrats. And I don't care if Barack Obama was on YouTube cutting kittens to ribbons with a box cutter. the Democrats would never speak out against Barack Obama. Even pro-animal rights liberal Democrats in the Senate would say, well, I guess Obama must have known that they deserved it somehow. So let's assume, logically, that the bill is not going to become law. It's simply not. So I think that the Republicans in the House or the Republicans in the Senate should sue the executive branch anyway. Take him to court. Enough is enough. Republicans say the legislation is necessary in light of the numerous administrative actions taken by President Barack Obama to change and selectively enforce laws, including immigration, marriage, welfare rules, and his signature legislative achievement, Obamacare. And of course, Barack Obama, this is at hotair.com, has threatened to veto the law that would force him to obey the law. If he had a sense of humor, he would sign the bills and then just ignore them, like he did with Obamacare. But forcing him to threaten a veto was, of course, the whole point of these bills in the first place. And this is the Obama administration statement on H.R. 4138. Executive needs to, the actual name of the law is enforce the law. That is ENFORCE. Executive needs to faithfully observe and respect congressional enactments of the law. Isn't that amazing? They actually found the words that would fit ENFORCE. It's Representative Trey Gowdy's bill. The administration, the Obama administration, strongly opposes H.R. 4138 because it violates the separation of powers by purporting to permit the Congress to challenge in court the exercise by the president of one of his core constitutional functions, taking care that federal laws are faithfully executed. Can you believe this crap? Obama is not faithfully executing the laws. This bill from Trey Gowdy attempts to force Obama to obey the law and execute the laws. I got to read that again because it is shockingly deceitful. The Obama administration strongly opposes H.R. 4138 because it violates the separation of powers. Obama is the guy who's violating the separation of powers by purporting to permit Congress to challenge in court the exercise by President Obama of one of his core constitutional functions, taking care that federal laws are faithfully executed. Well, he's not. I can say that for most of his administration, he has not been faithfully executing the laws of the United States of America. The White House statement goes on. Congress ordinarily has the power to define the bounds of the executive branch's enforcement authority under particular statutes, and persons who claim to be harmed by the executive branch's actions may challenge them as inconsistent with the governing statute. But the power the bill purports to assign to Congress to sue the president over whether or not he has properly discharged his constitutional obligation to take care that the laws be faithfully executed exceeds constitutional limitations. How can it? That's impossible. By definition, a law that allows Congress to sue the president if he crosses the line is absolutely constitutional. And by the way, President Obama does not have the authority to decide whether or not a law is constitutional. He can veto it, and he would if it got to him, which it's not going to because the Senate is not going to approve this. But that's beside the point. Congress may not assign such power to itself, but Obama can assign all this power to himself? Wow, the level of hypocrisy here is almost insurmountable. Congress may not assign such power to itself, nor may it assign to the courts the task of resolving such generalized political disputes. If the president were presented with H.R. 4138, his senior advisors would recommend that he veto the bill. What a surprise. Well, I got to tell you, that is such a load of crap. What a load. What a load. What a load of crap. Beautiful. I love that song. All right, so again, this is written at hotair.com. Commentary. Translation: Congress is violating the separation of powers by trying to make Obama stop violating the separation of powers. Oh, that is so great. The executive can summarily rewrite provisions of a momentous health care law that was written and passed by the legislature while offering no legal justification for doing so. But if the legislature tries to get judges involved to hold him back, well, that's a constitutional bridge too far. And the Obama White House says we can't have that. Essentially, he's arguing that because Article 2 leaves it to the president to faithfully execute the law, only Obama gets to decide whether he's faithfully executing the law by selectively ignoring portions of it that benefit him politically. That's exactly the point. Remember, this is the guy who ran in 2008 promising to roll back Bush's executive overreach because he was a law professor and he knew the Constitution and stuff.
Most of the problems that we have had in civil liberties were not done through the Patriot Act. They were done through executive order by George W. Bush. And that's why the first thing I will do when I am president is call in my Attorney General and have he or she review every executive order to determine which of those have undermined civil liberties, which are unconstitutional, and I will reverse them with a stroke of a pen. The biggest problems that we're facing right now have to do with George Bush trying to bring more and more power into the executive branch and not go through Congress at all. And that's what I intend to reverse when I'm president of the United States of America.
Ay caramba. That's Barack Obama. And I'm a poet and I'm unaware. Let's see here. What else do I got? Oh, yeah, there's still reading the commentary here because this is really great. Again, at Hot Air, Ala Pundit is writing. Let me ask you this. Would any president respond differently? Would any president sign a bill like this, that the one that the GOP is proposing, and then duly chastised, start to comply? The novelty of Obama's power grabs is not that he would go to the mat constitutionally to defend them. Presidents are forever claiming that attempts by Congress to rein them in violate Article 2. You could, in fact, argue that this is all a part of the checks and balances process. As different branches compete for power, they naturally seek to vindicate their supremacy in court. What's novel about Obama is that, transparently, he is refusing to enforce parts of a major law, a law that will define his presidential legacy, by the way, not because of any constitutional problem, but because they're inconvenient to him politically. And, of course, inconvenient to his political party. Obama needs to suspend the employer mandate for a few years, not because some unforeseen complication in enforcing it has arisen, but because his party's royally screwed at the polls as this boondoggle pisses off more and more voters, and he is frantic to minimize the damage. If Obama can define faithful execution of the laws to encompass an excuse as weak as that, then Jonathan Turley is even more right than we thought, and I am going to play audio from Jonathan Turley next, because it fits. That's where we need to go. Turley is a liberal constitutional law professor. He agrees with everything in Obama's agenda, but he is warning that Obama's power grab is very dangerous to America. And I think he's warning that because he realizes the next Republican can pick up where Obama left off. Again, this is the article at hotair.com. But having made the leap to non-enforcement for reasons of pure political expedience, it's no surprise that he would now threaten a court battle over his constitutional powers. Presidents always do. Still, very good optics by the GOP to squeeze this threat out of him. The only thing I don't get is why he would play along. All these bills will die in the Senate. Why would Obama give conservative activists a new reason to get their base excited to vote in November when he didn't really have to? Here is Professor Jonathan Turley in his second testimony and his second warning in Congress that Obama is crossing very big, very important constitutional lines.
I testified at the earlier hearing about the separation of powers, its history and its function, and also my view that the President has in fact exceeded his authority in a way that is creating a destabilizing influence in a tripartite or three-branch system. Now, I want to emphasize, of course, that this problem didn't begin with President Obama. I was critical of his predecessor, President Bush, as well. But the rate at which executive power is being concentrated in our system is accelerating. And frankly, I am very alarmed by the implications of that aggregation of power. What also alarms me, however, is that the two other branches appear not just simply passive but inert in the face of this concentration of authority. The fact that I happen to think the President is right on many of these policies does not alter the fact that I believe the means he is doing is wrong, and that this can be a dangerous change in our system. And our system is changing in a very fundamental way, and it's changing without a whimper of regret or opposition. And so it's a great honor to speak with you again today about the implications, but also about what this branch can do to assert its powers and to regain balance in the system. I am a typical Madisonian scholar. I tend to view all branches as equal, but some more equal than others, and that would be the legislative branch. If you take a look at Article 1 and Article 2, even a glance, you'll see what I mean. The framers, particularly James Madison, spent a great deal of time developing this institution. It is the thumping heart of our system, and it has lost a great deal of power, and that power has largely been transferred to the executive branch. Before I talk about those options, I just simply want to note priorities and policies, and yes, even presidents change. Our system is not supposed to change. It's the guarantee that we all have. It's an article of faith that we have with one another. It is a thing that has weathered wars and depression and social unrest. In our system, there is no license to go it alone. There's no freelancing. That doesn't mean that this is not difficult. It doesn't mean that we don't have divisions. I want to emphasize that last point. Recently, Congress has seemed frankly feckless and uncertain as to its authority. It surprises me, given the institution created by people like James Madison. I do not, however, believe our dysfunctional government, as it currently exists, is simply the result of dysfunctional politics. It is simply untrue that we're living in very different or unprecedented times. The framers lived in these times. Well, people say you're acting like you want to kill one another. When the framers first joined this institution, they were literally trying to kill each other. They were using things like the Alien and Sedition Act to try to arrest their opponents. Thomas Jefferson referred to his opponents as the reign of the witches. This is not a different political time, and it shouldn't be used as an excuse for extra constitutional action. Indeed, the branch that I blame the most for the problems we're having is the branch that's rarely mentioned, and that is the judicial branch. It was once referred to as the least dangerous branch, but has made itself into the least relevant branch after Raines and other cases. Specifically, it has created barriers for member standing or legislative standing, which I think is key if we're going to rebalance this system. What is strange is that the Supreme Court has dealt with this by saying they're defending separation of powers by refusing to reinforce it. It's like a fire department refusing to put out fires because only you can prevent fires. They are tasked with the job of maintaining the separation of powers. I have listed the options in my testimony that this body can consider, from direct legislative means to things like appointments to some of the legislation that is pending. I do want to emphasize one thing, however, in closing. This common article of faith that we have in our system has served us well. The short-term insular victories that are achieved in this term will come with prohibitive cost. I happen to agree with many of those policies, but I do not agree with the means. I believe we are now at a constitutional tipping point in our system. It's a dangerous point for our system to be in, and I believe that your response has to begin before this president leaves office.
All right, that is Jonathan Turley, a liberal professor of constitutional law, speaking out against the power that Barack Obama is amassing for himself. It's time to stop him. I'm Jimmy Z, and you're listening to The Jimmy Z Show.
The Jimmy Z Show.